Hi, and welcome to this online presentation on effective lobbying and advocacy team approach. I appreciate you taking the time to participate in this, and we are about to explore using advocacy teams and storytelling in order to build a relationship with our state legislator as we lobby them to support Fair District Pennsylvania's redistricting reform goals. My name is Tony Caracamo. I live in Lancaster County. I give presentations on storytelling for businesses, and I've been helping out with the Fair District's PA Speakers Bureau since its inception in the fall of 2016. The process I'll be describing today has been drawn from the Quakers, the Friends Committee on National Legislation, their approach to lobbying Congress. That committee identifies one legislative topic every year, and they have some 80 teams across the country that focus on lobbying Congress on that topic, and they've had some great success in the past. So my email address is on this slide, tony@thespeakerspot.com. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions or comments about this presentation. And if enough questions arise, I will create a fact sheet and save that to this webinar's files on Dropbox. Speaking of this webinar's files on Dropbox, before we begin, I suggest that you download the handouts for this presentation and read the handout on guidance for meeting with legislators. That piece was created by the Fair District's communications team, and it is an excellent overview of the best practices for meeting with legislators. It has links to resources that will help you prepare. So use the handout link, and you just go to Fair District's Dropbox file, and then you find the Speakers Resources folder. Click on that, and the first folder you'll see is going to be 01 Webinar Handouts, Effective Lobbying, and you open that file, and all 6 handouts for this presentation are in there, including the guidance for meeting with legislators. So if you can't do that before you see the rest of this presentation, be sure to do it soon after, because that will be very helpful to you. Lobbying our legislators is an important way to engage with them, to let them know we are here and we want them to take action on redistricting reform. However, for some of us, meeting with legislators can be intimidating. However, the advocacy team approach allows members to share responsibilities and support each other. Teams work together to plan and prepare for the meeting and provide each other with encouragement and feedback. It is in the preparation for and planning of the meeting that the advocacy team provides the greatest benefit, and that benefit is confidence. Preparation creates competence, and competence builds your confidence. And being comfortably confident in a meeting with a legislator or legislative staff member is a great asset. It reduces stress and improves the content of the team's message to legislators. So, what does a lobbying advocacy team look like, and how does it operate? Well, it's no big secret, really. There are only 3 basic advocacy roles for any team. You have the MC, the meeting coordinator or master of ceremonies, take your pick, and he or she moderates the meeting for the Fair District's PA team. The scheduler is the single point of contact with the legislative office for the purpose of scheduling that meeting. Please do not have more than one person contact the legislative office about a particular meeting date, place, and time. That will make everybody nuts. So the third position is note taker, and the note taker not only takes notes during the meeting, but this team member also collects and provides the contact information for all the team member attendees and hands that to the legislator or legislative assistant at the meeting. And the note taker also works with the team members to create the post-meeting reports. So all team members conduct research and are participants in the meeting. 3 to 5 team members is optimum. If you go there with fewer than 3, obviously you're doubling up on some of those roles and creating more work. And if you go there with more than 5, there are going to be space problems as far as sitting around a conference table. Also, getting more than 5 people and the legislator to participate in a meeting, you may not have enough time for all of that, so that's kind of problematic. So again, 3 to 5 people is plenty for a meeting with your legislator. So those are the roles, and this is what you're going to be doing. This is a rough outline of a meeting, and we'll be looking at all these elements in more detail soon. For now, I want to focus on the talking points. Many of us have concerns about being outgunned factually by a legislator or a staff member or somebody asking a question at a public meeting. These concerns, to a large degree, can be taken care of by visiting the Fair Districts PA website, fairdistrictspa.com. You go to Take Action, Contact Your Legislator, and you have talking points on that page. Now, keep in mind, you are there to advocate for Fair Districts PA. You're not there to argue with the legislator or the staff. If they oppose us, if they challenge you with a question or a statement or argument you are unfamiliar with, make a note of it and promise to get them a response within a week. You haven't lost an argument by saying, let me get back to you on that. So between the I'll get back to you response and the talking points on the website, chances are you will be better prepared than most legislators to discuss our issues intelligently. And if you do come away with a question or a concern that needs to be answered, get them answered by Fair Districts PA. The communications team on Slack can help, and the legislative team. You can always call 800-313-1597. Tell them who you are, who you met with, and what the legislator wants to know, and they will get you to someone who can help. So we're still in preparing before the meeting. You want to designate team roles for this visit. You have the scheduler establish the date, time, and place of the visit, and you need to know the time allotted for the meeting, start and finish time, and you need to plan the participation based on the meeting length. All participants do research to find common grounds and links with the legislator. And sources of information, again, are the Fair Districts PA website. You can find out their current stand on the legislation there. Go to Take Action, contact their legislator, and you'll see links to their current stand. You can go to the legislator's website. Official biographies are a good source of information, articles, statements they've made, press releases, potential links, things you have in common with the legislator, faith communities, family, spouse. I mean, if they have children, you have children, that's the link. If their children go to the same school your children go to, or if their children know their children, if you go to the same high school or college, if you went to the same high school or college with the legislator or the legislator's spouse, if you had the same college major as the legislator or legislator's spouse, if you like the same sports team, or you're members of the same service clubs, maybe in different areas, or have business contacts, friends in the community, hobbies and sports. These are all potential things you and members of your team may have in common with the legislator. And these things that you have in common, you weave them into the conversation during the meeting and wherever they fit in. We want to reinforce, to the extent possible, we want to reinforce that we are similar to, not different from them. We want to build a relationship with the legislator, and this is the start of building that relationship. You'll have a lot of confidence if you script the meeting, i.e. you know what you're going to say before the meeting. The introductions made at the meeting should include the name and addresses of all the constituents at the meeting. The note taker, and again, all the members of the team should be constituents. The note taker should prepare a handout that contains the team's contact information that can be handed to the legislative assistant or the legislator during the meeting. Part of the script is having each team member create his or her own What Brought Me Here story, WBMH, What Brought Me Here story. And that is a value-based personal story that reveals why this issue matters to you. Telling your story connects with the values and the priorities of the legislator. Each of us has a What Brought Me Here story, and you may think you don't, but you do. I mean, think about it. We spend hours of our time researching, talking about, working for Fair Districts PA, pushing to amend the Pennsylvania Constitution. We are not normal. This is not what everybody else does. Something happened to us somewhere. It calls us to do this work. And we are looking for every sliver of common ground that we share with the legislator, and values are a great place to build trust and common ground with your legislator. Your story helps build a connection with the legislator. These connections go a long way to keeping the meeting polite and respectful and building trust and providing the foundation for a relationship with the legislator. We aren't there to argue. We're there to explain our position, to ask the legislature's cooperation, to listen to his or her response, to clarify issues that we can clarify at that time, and promise a response to concerns raised that we cannot clarify in the moment. All of us at Fair Districts PA are going out of our way to promote redistricting reform. So each of us has a story, perhaps several stories, on why we do this. Telling those stories connects you to the legislator in a more powerful way than can be done with facts and charts. Happily for us, though, the facts and charts are also on our side. So how do you write your What Brought Me Here story? How do you find your What Brought Me Here story? Well, you have a team meeting, and you all brainstorm the What Brought Me Here stories, which is basically, what brings you to this work? Why is redistricting reform important to you? When was the first time you opened your eyes to this issue? Why do you do this? Saying it's important or the right thing to do, or that the present system is unfair, or that the present system threatens democracy, or it isn't what the founders wanted, those are all good reasons, but they are not your What Brought Me Here story. Your What Brought Me Here story is an incident, a memory, a moment in your life that shaped your concept of what's important, of what is fair, of what democracy is like. What did you see, learn, realize that created that value in you? Did it come from a parent, a teacher, a relative, a friend, a spiritual belief, a novel, a poem, an historic event, current events? Drill down for the underlying event that made this issue important to you. Use your What Brought Me Here story worksheet to help you write this story. And that's worksheet number 3, and it's in the handouts. Then share your story with a member of the advocacy team. You team up with another member of the advocacy team, and you use the handout number 4, the What Brought Me Here story feedback form. And have your What Brought Me Here story buddy tell you the highlights of your story, the parts that needed more explanation or parts that could be shortened. Were there any confusing parts? Did the story raise any unanswered questions? Does the story work with this issue? Use the What Brought Me Here story feedback form to give and to get valuable feedback on your story that will help you improve it and hone it so that you have a clear, concise, values-based statement that will resonate with your legislator. So here's a What Brought Me Here story, my What Brought Me Here story. When I was in Vietnam, I saw friends die for America. I know no one dies for America to make legislative districts safe for a political party. Removing self-serving politics from the redistricting process is essential to honoring those who have died for American values. Now that's 3 sentences, maybe 45 words? And that's one of my What Brought Me Here stories, but maybe you have another story. Maybe your parents taught you that voting was a cherished civic duty, and now that legislators can silence voters' voices by controlling where district lines are drawn, that goes against your view of what America stands for. Or perhaps you have a friend or a relative who lives in a gerrymandered district, and he or she has given up voting because they know their vote doesn't matter. So you understand that gerrymandering is weakening American democracy, and you want it to stop. So I would be happy to help your team create your What Brought Me Here stories. I could talk to you over the phone, conference call, if you're getting together. So you can contact me by email, tony@thespeakerspot.com, and I'd be happy to set up a time when we could talk about your What Brought Me Here story, whether it's your personal one or if you're having several team members working on it at the same time. Whatever you want to do, just contact me at tony@thespeakerspot.com. So now we come to the ask. The reason we're going to this meeting is to ask the legislator to do something. And we want to make a clear statement about what we want the legislator to do. And what we want that legislator to do will change over time. And here are some broad categories of positions on our bill. Someone might be a leader against our bill. They actively advocate against Fair District PA goals. Someone might be against, they expressed opposition to our goals. They might be neutral or non-committal. Or they might be for, a co-sponsor, supporter of our goals, but not terribly active. And then you're going to have a leader, active advocate for Fair District PA goals. The status of the legislation and where the legislator stands on redistricting reform when we meet with them will color what we ask each legislator to do. This slide and the next two slides are available as a one-page handout. In the Dropbox file is asks based on legislator positions. So shown here are 5 broad categories defining a legislator's positions on Fair District PA goals. Maybe a leader against our position, maybe against us, not actively fighting us. They might be neutral, undecided. We know we have some legislators who are for us but not working actively or openly on our behalf, and then we have the leaders for our position, active advocates for goals. In essence, we want those who are against us to reduce their level of activity, fighting us, and we want those who are unsure or wavering to become stronger in their support of our efforts. As for the leaders for our position, we want them to continue, and we want to know where we can help them move this issue forward. Maybe we want a legislator to co-sponsor a bill, and we may want the legislator to promote the bill, advocate for other co-sponsors, insist on hearings, vote the bill out of committee, support amendments or block amendments to the bill, and eventually a vote for passage of a bill that corrects Pennsylvania's redistricting process. The handout, Guidance for Meeting with Legislators, lists potential asks. At any given point, Fair District PA may have a particular ask or action that they want a legislator to take. Keep Fair District PA informed of your scheduled legislative meetings so you'll have that information to work with. The team fashions the ask. The team also needs to create a document we'll call the Leave Behind. It's a one-page document that includes the ask and 2 or 3 supporting arguments that would appeal to this particular legislator. Once again, since every participant has conducted basic research on the legislator, it should be fairly easy to agree on what value the legislator has that support your ask. And remember, fairdistrictpa.com, click on Take Action, contact your legislator for background on his or her position. We use the ask to promote our position and to reduce opposition to our position. The tools we use to do that begin with your What Brought Me Here story. That puts a human face and common value to the issue. We want to explore the motivation of those who oppose the reform. If we cannot bring them to our position, we want to be able to ask them to be more neutral than actively opposing us. We understand you may not be able to vote for this bill, but we would ask that when speaking about the bill, you mention those elements of the bill you do agree with. That is a perfectly fine ask for someone who opposing us, assuming they don't disagree with each and every word in the legislation. The team agrees to agree on what you're asking for and how to phrase the ask. Once again, since every participant has conducted basic research on the legislator, it should be fairly easy to agree upon what values the legislator has that best supports your ask. Where the legislator stands on redistricting reform, when we meet, will color the nature of our ask. You can find out where your legislator stands by going to fairdistricts.com, take action, contact your legislator. Rehearsal is a wonderful thing. It really does build confidence and makes you comfortable with the meeting process. So you script a meeting. You know what you're going to say before. You script a meeting. You know what you're going to say before the meeting. As a group, you brainstorm what questions, objections, concerns the legislator might have in the issue. You prepare responses to the issue. You practice your What Brought Me Here story, hone the ask, design the leave behind, the talking points plus the ask, and you review the meeting flow. You understand who speaks when. And now you are finally ready to meet with the legislator and or the legislator staff. Well, these are some pretty basic things. You arrive early. And the meeting coordinator thanks the legislator, explains who we are, explains what Fair Districts is all about, nonprofit, nonpartisan, want to reform Pennsylvania's redistricting laws. And then the MC introduces the members of the delegation. And this is where the MC mentions those links with the legislator. Perhaps one of the members of the delegation works with the legislator's spouse or knows a relative of the legislator, or their children go to the same school. That's when the MC mentions that. And these little things, and I know they're small and seem inconsequential, but these little things build links, builds commonality with the legislator, and reinforces the idea that we are similar to rather than different from. And then after the delegation is introduced, the note taker provides the team contact list to the legislator. And after the team contact list is given to the legislator, the MC makes the group ask. Yes, it's that early in the process. The ask is made. And the ask is going to be repeated several times during this meeting, so it's fine to have it up there early. And then the MC coordinates the team telling their "what brought me here" stories. And remember, you start off with the best stories, the ones that are likely, you've decided are likely to resonate with that legislator and are connected to our ask. And you ask those stories, you tell those stories first. And then after those stories are told, the meeting coordinator repeats the ask and requests the legislator respond to the ask. And now this is very important. After that request is made, it's hugely important for everyone to be very comfortable with silence. Don't say a thing. The legislator has been asked to respond. Let him or her respond. We don't interrupt. We don't rephrase the question. We wait for them to respond to what was asked. And it's also very important, obviously, for the note taker to take notes of what the legislator says. The meeting coordinator moderates responses to the legislator's objections. And by this I mean, remember that the team members have studied up on talking points, certain talking points. This team member is going to have these 2 or 3 talking points to speak to. This team member will have these other talking points to speak to. And the moderator will direct the conversation to the team member who has the best talking points to respond to whatever objections the legislator has. If the legislator has raised issues we cannot answer, the meeting coordinator says that we will get back to them within a week with an answer. A delegation member repeats the ask and gives the legislator staffer the leave behind document, which of course contains a written version of the ask, as well as your strongest 2 or 3 talking points. A delegation member then asks when a follow-up meeting would be useful, or reminds the legislator that we will be following up with responses to concerns within a week. Then it's very important that the MC thank the legislator for his or her time. The meeting needs to end at the agreed upon time. If the legislator or a staff member offers to extend the meeting, that's wonderful. Otherwise, it's important to accomplish everything you set out to accomplish in the time allotted. So the meeting's over, but your job isn't. The advocacy team leaves the meeting and makes no positive or negative statements about the meeting until they reach a location where they can speak without being overheard. One overheard negative comment about the legislator or a staff member can undo all the work you put into forming a relationship. Clam up until you can talk openly. Then review the meeting at length. The note taker reads the notes to the team. Team members suggest additions or changes to the notes. And this is best done, obviously, when the meeting is fresh in everyone's mind. So I envision everybody leaving the meeting and going to a coffee shop or someplace where they can talk and sitting down and hashing all of this out. The team should, at this point, identify the legislator's questions that need to be answered and brainstorm where best to get an answer to that question. Identify the person on the team who will get the answer to the question and when they will get the answer to the question. One team member might handle, if there's only 1 or 2 questions, one team member might handle it. If there were 5 or 6, you might spread them out among 2 or 3 team members. brainstorm where best to get the answers to the question, identify the team member who's going to answer it, and then survey team members on what worked well and what needed improvement. Do a debriefing on the meeting itself. How did you guys do as a team? Did things work better than you thought they did? Were you surprised by any element? Capture that information. The note taker should capture that information and keep it in either a 3-ring binder or a digital file on the meeting so you guys can improve as you go along. What worked and what needs improvement. So who does what when? This is part of the debriefing. And by the way, there's a sample debriefing meeting agenda in the handouts. It's one of the 6 handouts in Dropbox that you have the link for. So next step, the team discusses who in Fair Districts PA needs to receive the information gathered during the visit. Now you do have your Fair Districts PA debriefing report that needs to be filed. But who else in Fair Districts PA needs to have the information? You filed a debriefing report, but maybe there's a tidbit of information that would be helpful to leadership in a county where of the legislator's district, that they should know about that issue is important to the legislator. Be free with the information. Get it out there. Think about who needs it and who could benefit from it and send it there. So you discuss the content and timing of a press release. Are you going to do a press release about your meeting? Members of Fair Districts PA, Lancaster County met with Representative, Senator. We discussed, blah, blah, and you can send that around to papers. Or are you going to do letters to the editor? That'd be fine. We enjoyed our meeting with so-and-so, and we're cheered to hear that he is now supporting Senate Bill 22, that sort of thing. But after the meeting, decide if you're going to do a letter to the editor. Who's going to write it and when? Are you going to do a press release? Who's going to write it and when? And you must do, this is really very important, you have to do a thank you letter to the legislator. And you have to decide at that debriefing meeting, decide on the content and timing of that thank you letter. And in that thank you letter, it should include responses to the questions or issues the legislator raised that we were unable to answer during the meeting. And you place the meeting notes, the debriefing notes in a 3-ring binder or in a digital file, and subsequent notes on meetings with that legislator go in the same binder or in the same digital file, so you have a complete record of your history with meeting with that legislator. So these are the 10 steps to success. You form teams, you define the roles, schedule the meeting, research the legislator, prepare your what brought me here story, you prepare the ask, you rehearse, you meet, debrief, report, repeat. That's all you do. Now, the finish line does look an awful lot like the starting line, yet any race is easier with good preparation. I hope this webinar has given you some ideas on preparing your advocacy team to meet and connect with your legislators. As I said before, I'd be happy to talk to you if you have any questions or comments. So you can just email me at tony@thespeakerspot.com, and I'd be happy to get back to you. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and I hope this has been helpful for you. And feel free to move the pieces around so that they work best for your own advocacy team. Thank you very much.